Hello everyone, Alex here again with another image review session. Got 50 images to look for, mainly from my March 2024 trip to Misool, but a few more recent images from the Red Sea, although I wanted to start really having a proper look at this Misool trip because it just feels too neglected and too good a trip to neglect. So I've just started to look at that. I've probably got another 100 or so pictures I'm really keen to process out from that trip before I move on then to Lembe and then finally to look at properly at the Red Sea. So lots to go through in the coming weeks. I want to go through these relatively quickly, mainly because my daughter is about and she's already interrupted me trying to record this a minute ago. So hopefully I'll manage to get through it this time. But starting off, there's a couple of pictures from other places. This is an old picture from Iceland. So as always, you can see the EXIF data on the right-hand side, see the cameras that they were shot with. They're nearly all shot with Sony A1 because they're generally all taken this year, that's my main camera. But this first picture is an older picture from Iceland in 2012, taken with the Nikon D4 and the 1635 lens. And I reprocessed a shot from this shoot of the shooting the cod, because I wanted to try the noise reduction software on a high ISO older image to see how well it worked, and it was just really just for my own education as much as anything that I've just reprocessed this shot of the cod there from northern Iceland, cod aggregation for spawning. This next photo is a crab eye goby, as they're often called, or two spot goby from Lembe. I've actually already processed one shot of this same fish, and I just wanted to process this one out as well. Shot with an open aperture to get that separation from the surroundings, but otherwise a pretty standard shot. Because this fish has got those two very characteristic eye spots on its dorsal fins, and it's also got the dark fins below, which are thought to be mimics of the claws of a crab, and the eyes are the eyes of a crab, and the dark fins at the bottom of the claws. You tend to shoot these guys side on to try and tell that story visually. They're definitely a pretty weird looking animal, and they move in a strange way. So I do enjoy photographing them. I've never been completely, they don't sort of convince me that they're a crab, but they're definitely trying to be something interesting. I'm never quite sure what. So anyway, I like to photograph that. The next photo is not a really exciting visually image, but it's a photo of sediment stabilization grids. So when a coral reef has been damaged by dynamite fishing, the problem of dynamite fishing, it doesn't just kill the fish, which is obviously what the dynamite fishers want to catch the fish. It also destroys the reef structure, and it doesn't just kill the corals, but it destabilizes the sediment into kind of rubble, and this stops new coral regrowing. And so when people are trying to repair reefs, and this is the house reef in Misool, which was bombed 20 years ago before the resort existed, and no coral has grown in the rubble areas ever since those bombs were dropped, to catch fish in a very lazy way. No coral's regrown there, so they're trying to restore those reefs. So they've put these metal plates, these metal grids down, and the grids provide a physically robust anchorage point for new coral to grow. And then they'll seed these grids with seed polyps, and they've, in the areas they've done this already, actually most guests who go there have no idea there's a grid underneath, because the coral just grows so fast and so lush in Misool. So I'll go back and photograph this same grid from this same position in a few years time, and it will be amazing, I'm sure. Anyway, nice to just tell that story. This is a photo of a pink anemone fish on an anemone. There's a little shrimp down the bottom there as well. And I just like this one because the sea fan behind the anemone. This anemone, I have a photo of this anemone, a well-known photo of this same anemone, all balled up, which I shot back, I think, in 2019. It's a photo of this pink balled up anemone with 3 anemone fish on it, with sort of an island behind. It's taken at Whale Rock in Misool, Ampat. And this is a macro shot of the same anemone. Anemone fish are quite long-lived, so it's possible this anemone fish is actually in the previous picture. Maybe I'll have to have a look at the 2029 picture and see if I can spot this individual on the anemone. A coral grouper hiding on a little bommy with these sea fans, these Metathea sea fans. That picture looks a bit warm on here. I think it needs a final bit of processing just to get the colour balance right. A ghost goby on a sea fan. I was drawn to the sea fan because I just really like this very interesting mix of textures on the sea fan, with these little polyps on the main stem of the sea fan, and creating these little circles, and then the sort of longer exposure pulling the things out. It's shot on a half-second exposure, which is creating that ghosting in amongst the blue, of the blue ghosting in amongst the polyps, which I really like. You can see in the settings there, and I quite often like using a long exposure like that just to create a little bit of texture. Right, I need to speed up. So next up is a pygmy goby on the reef. Reasonably common, these pygmy gobies on coral reefs. This one is kind of called the two-spot goby because of the dark spots at the base of its tail. This doesn't really have dark spots, and it may well be a different species that's yet to be described yet, just because the scientists are well aware that there are variations in these, and they just haven't worked out exactly where to draw the lines of the species, really. But this is just one of the little pygmy gobies on the house reef, and a whip coral goby, a large whip coral goby on a red sea whip, on a Elisella sea whip. Then there's there's a couple of photos of Jamie, who I've shown before on here. These are some photos of her when she did some modelling, wanted me to take some photos of her underwater. This is one we did when she first got in, just with her hair on the surface there, and then just here on the reef, with just this beautiful sunlight behind and the lovely hog coral garden at Misool House Reef. And then this is just very close to all these pictures are all taken within a few feet of each other, but now just creating a slightly different shot, just diving down over the edge of the reef wall there and catching her there with a soft coral in the foreground. Just processing those out, not especially interesting, those ones. This is a Siphonogongia sea fan, and it had a really nice spray of fish behind it, and also the silhouetted reef behind it. So I really like this little scene that this was setting up there, taken at Puri Pinnacle, I think, or Anchovy maybe, I can't remember, one of those sites up in the sort of north of the Yillit Islands, in the Misool area. And this is actually one of their new dive sites, in that same area, which is in that same row of pinnacles, just no one ever bothers to dive it, and the liveaboards never do any experimenting. They always just request to go to the same classic sites because their guests want to dive the classic sites. And one of the nice things about going to the Misool Resort is that they hit the classic sites, but they also like to still do exploratory dives, and this is a pinnacle they've just started diving, and you can see it's packed with fusiliers. It had a nice school of jacks on it as well, so it was a really interesting dive. This is the same pinnacle, just this very beautiful sea fan, completely the wrong shape for a photo, being very square, but just such a lovely colours in the sea fan. If I zoom in, you can just see those fantastic colours and patterns in the sea fan. I'd love to shoot this one on macro just because it's got such a mix of colours. It really goes really red out on the tips of the Euplexura sea fan here, and then in the middle it's really almost yellowy, so you've got that yellow, orange and red all together. Really nice mix of colours. Not a particularly nice photo though, with it just plonked in the middle. Some of the juvenile white-tip reef sharks, these were at Tank or Nudie, I can't remember which one, but I think Tank Rock. They're always there underneath one of the big boulders, these little youngsters growing up there, and this is shot with a macro lens. I was shooting macro on that dive, and took a picture of the white-tip reef shark hiding there. So probably from the same dive. This is a yellow-tailed blenny. You always see them sticking out the holes like this. They don't always have the blue markings on their heads. They can often just be black-headed, these blennies. But the yellow tail is sort of, well, if you see them out, they look very different, really. A picture of a magnificent sea anemone detail. This is shot with the FCP, and I think it's a really good example of showing the diversity and the variation. These are taken on the same dive, actually. Or maybe this is a better one. So this is the FCP lens, which is the Nauticam fisheye wide-angle zoom lens, and this is a big scene shot with it. And then on the same dive, without changing lens, I can shoot a shot as tight and as detailed as this. And I think that's really amazing. And you see that it's got great detail in it. I've not used the FCP on the last trip because I was a bit tight on baggage allowance and couldn't justify taking it. But shots like that really remind me how valuable it is. And then these are some different shots for the FCP. This is kind of mid-zoom shot, sort of a frame-filling group of barracuda, and then the whole school of barracuda with space all around it. And great to be able to have that diversity in a single dive, to be able to do all those 3 shots on the same dive. Yeah, you can see here, you've got the, if I zoom in, you can see all the barracuda faces, really nice and sharp, and then coming back to the background reef there, and this diver in the distance there, also nice and in focus and sharp. Shot on f13. Right, moving on. This is now shot with the standard fisheye, the 8-15 fisheye, the Nikon 8-15, with the Matty Smith dome to shoot some split levels. This is just swimming across the channel from Misool Island to the other side. I don't know what the name of this island is off Batim. I think it's called Goat Island or something like that. I can't remember. But in Indonesian language of some sort. I don't know if it's in Bahasa or another. Anyway. But just a nice little split level of the island. The island's not the perfect shape for a split. I don't like really that shape above the water line. I think I'd like to have kind of the island to start and stop within the frame, rather than starting so nicely on the left but on the right just trailing off the side of the frame. And the underwater scenery here is just a little bit too deep to get any strong graphic shapes in it. So it's an okay split level, but not an amazing one at all. I think the main island has better opportunities. These next few shots are just taken on an afternoon dive. I remember these were shot with Seacam strobes rather than the Retra strobes I used for the other shots. I just remember on this dive, because I was actually filmed on this dive just by Mega the dive guide. She borrowed my GoPro and took some footage of me, and I just remember in that footage I was borrowing Erin's Seacam 160 strobes. They're very similar to the Retras actually. You don't really notice which ones you're using in terms of the light. They have quite a similar light output. I do like the battery system on the Seacams. It's nice, easy battery packs just in and out, and they're nice to dive with. These are just some wide-angle reef scenes shot with the Seacam strobes with some evening, afternoon sunlight. I really like diving. This is taken at Fenerbahce dive site, Fenerbahce Island dive site, and I do like diving those sites, Whale Rock, Fenerbahce, Tank Newdy, in that late afternoon. There's great light there. They're always really good dives when you can get on those late afternoon, and you get, you often get these really nice sunbursts as well in the shallows. Some leather corals here with those nice sunbursts. Just shot, and people often, always say, "Oh, you must be using, fast shutter speeds to get those amazing sun rays." And yes, when you shoot the sun underwater and you want the sun to look nice, the sun is very bright. You often have to use a fast shutter speed. But this picture here, I think this picture here has got lovely sunbeams and sun rays in it. Very attractive. This picture's only taken at a 60th of a second. So, you don't always need those fast settings. Right. I'm now going to show you just a short video clip of me on that dive. Sorry for that brief intermission. It was actually useful because my daughter and her friend just came back in and gave me a chance to set them off on their next activity. They had just been doing litter picking out in the street. Right, now we're still in Misool, and these are some photos of the green turtles in the lagoon. I like this one. This is with Jamie posing behind the turtle. I just like the fact that they're both looking at the camera in this one. It's not an artistically composed shot, but it feels very candid and full of personality, with the two of them both kind of just staring down the lens together. So I rather like this photo. There's kind of a nice symmetry between the faces of the green turtle and Jamie, and their flippers and everything all lining up. This is another green turtle. This shot with the MWL. The green turtle trying to eat the MWL. The turtles like the MWL. They always try and eat it. So it's a fun way to get these shots. They're a bit uncontrollable, but they're nice to see. And now this is with the FCP again, and just a really dense gathering of fusiliers. But I guess probably at Magic Mountain, with all those fusiliers together. And back on the house reef at Misool, this is also with the FCP, just some scenery shooting with the hard coral garden and the bait fish above. This one here is with the Mykonos 13mm fisheye, so just more fisheye shooting of this nice Misool sea fan and this slender grouper just hovering at the base of it. It's quite often there actually. I've seen him on that sea fan on trips, because you tend to dive at boo windows. This is at boo windows, I don't know if I said. You tend to dive boo windows on the liveaboard trips and obviously from the resort as well. And this group is always hanging around this particular sea fan, so he makes a nice hero fish in a kind of composition. Some mantas at Waru Ridge, and this is same manta actually. It's 2 shots of the same pass. Just zapping him as he came through. But yeah, nice close-up shots of the manta. Not particularly artistic, interesting pictures, but nice close manta shots. It's always nice to have some good manta detail. I do like manta eyes. They're always busy looking at you as keenly as you're looking at them. This one's got some marks on here. These are probably from on its cephalic fins. I suspect those are from the remoras, sort of hitching on there, making some damage. On the same dive, also these nice wobbegongs. This is the Misool area, but the topography is not that well suited to wobbegongs. You don't see as many as you do up at Dampier Strait, but this area has got lots of wobbegongs, and these are all shot with the FCP, which gives good flexibility to take on these different subjects. This is a different wobbegong, so we had 2 wobbegongs on that dive. This one was under an overhang, a bit too tucked in for an ideal shot, but I do like the setting and the feel of the shot. I quite like the fact this is kind of a shot which is, it's a bit busy and a bit messy, but you look at it and you go, I must be looking for something here, and then you see the shark, which I think I rather enjoy. You can see the wobbegong in here. There's his eye up there above his spiracle here, and then you can see his beard at the front of this tasseled wobbegong. Right, moving on through, same dive I think, and at the end of the dive we had more manta action, back up on top of the ridge. This big black reef manta cruising over the top of the ridge, and I just sort of hovered above it and it just carried on being clean below me. I knew if I dropped down onto the ridge, I think it probably was also a bit low on bottom time, it might go away, but me staying above it was very relaxed and I was able to get very close to it and fill the frame. And then back onto Misool Island. I wanted to do some available light shots of the turtles in the lagoon, and was waiting for a cloudy day to get this flat light underwater, just to get lots of detail and no light patterns in the pictures, to get pictures of the turtles in the lagoon. And they're in the lagoon to feed on the seagrass. If I zoom in, you can see the little seagrass that they like to feed on. And it was just a chance to shoot these shots. Just available lights of the turtles in the shallows, very soft, even illumination. And I was racing. You can see there's already some blue sky about to come through, so I was racing to get these shots in before the sun came out. So I thought that I liked the look of them in the flat light, so just whizzed in there to do that. I think I just went in snorkeling between the dives, without any strobes on, just a little camera, with the A1 and the Mykonos lens on. It's very small. Just some macro shots. Again, this is just a little white-bellied damselfish in the Elicella sea whips. This unicorn fish with a very long unicorn point out the front. I think it's called the spotted unicorn fish, even though its body's mainly covered in stripes. But they're common widespread fish. And a coral grouper, just again another portrait with some soft corals. Nothing amazing, but just some useful little fish pictures to process out. Now we move to the Red Sea, and most of these shots are just from my recent trip, but for some reason this shot was knocking around in my to process folder, and it's from 2019, so it's actually taken, I guess, with the D850, but with Retra strobes and everything like that, I suspect. And just of a nice coral bommy, great explosion of anthias, really nice soft corals on this bommy as well. Just a really pretty little scene. And yeah, just wanted to process one out because it just looked really, really pretty when shooting this. Very, very pretty pink Dendroneptia corals down here, with the demoiselles in front of it here, these little yellow-tailed jobs, and then these black tip ones. I think they're different species. Don't remember the species of those. Right, moving on, just some motorbike shots on this one with a lionfish, this one with a slingjaw wrasse. I've shown lots of those recently, so you don't need to dwell on those. And then finishing off with, this is a shot taken with the Kraken strobes. So this is at Ras Sid, on an evening dive there where you get very nice light in the sheltered waters around Sharm el Sheikh. And I love doing afternoon and evening dives in that area because it's just, it's like diving in an aquarium. It's just calm water, beautiful light, lots of fish, nice corals, just no need to go deep. You can go deep, but no need to go deep. Just lots of life everywhere. And these are Red Sea bannerfish hanging out under an overhang. There's a adult white-bellied damselfish up the top there. The bannerfish here. Just a really pretty little scene playing out in the evening light. The Kraken strobes give a very nice soft even light with their circular flash tubes. I don't find them that powerful compared to how you might expect from the watt seconds that they have. I don't think they use the most efficient flash tube, but the light quality is very nice, and I really like them. Really liked shooting them. They're a little bit cold, but with a warming diffuser, they'd be perfect. Then these are shots with the backscatter strobes on the Carnatic wreck. This is just Jenny modelling and filming me. You can see me there in the GoPro screen. So she's filming as she's modelling, swimming through these little schools of glass fish. There's a couple of topside pictures I've processed out just to finish off with. This is just I always like photographing wildlife related signs. This is a warning sign of wild boars in Sardinia, and it's attached to the very classic typical pine trees that you get growing on the coast there. And just a few photos taken close to home. This is a starling murmuration in Cambridgeshire, near where I live. We went to see this. I wasn't even going to take my camera. I don't think I took a telephoto. I think this is taken with a 28mm fixed lens that I just happened to have on my camera, and I grabbed it just before we went out to see the starlings. And this is just 28mm prime on the Sony, and just shooting them. And this is just a handheld long exposure. I think I might have rested the camera on a post or something to take this picture, and just to blur the starlings as they move. Didn't go crazy with the length of exposure, but yeah, it's a 15th of a second. And then some other shots of, for the name of these beautiful birds has gone out of my head. I can't remember. I'm going to have to look them up in the information. Waxwings, they're called. I managed to get there before I had to look them up. And these waxwings are winter visitors to the UK. We don't see them every year, and we had some hanging around locally to us, so I just went and took a few snaps of them. They're not amazing pictures. I don't intend to submit these to my photo library, but I did want to process them out for my own collection, just because otherwise they'd just get forgotten on a hard drive. So I just picked 3 pictures and processed them out. So I've got some waxwing photos should I ever want to show them off. So hopefully that was an interesting run through. Sorry for the intermission, and I'll be back again next week if I get to process some more pictures. Bye.